Hello everybody, my name is Hannah and today I will be talking about Cowboy Bebop. It is one of my absolute favorite animes of all time. I love everything about it. The characters are brilliant, the background art, just everything. It has my favorite soundtrack of all time. And what I want to talk about in this video is why it feels so empty, so lonely. Why does it hurt so much when these characters disappear? Why when the Bebop breaks up? Why is it so bloody sad that it just makes you want to rip your heart out because it hurts so much? So without further ado, let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is a little formula that this show is based around. It's the idea of having something beautiful, having something great and good, something that you want to have, and then losing that in the end. It's giving the viewer a false sense of hope and comfort that slowly as the series progresses you realize was never there in the first place. And how Bebop does this is by giving these characters exactly what they want from the very beginning, and then as soon as they realize they have it, it's gone. Each character of Bebop seems to be stuck in the past somehow, and they're all trying to search for answers so that they can move on from their life and go into the present. They're all searching for something that can tie them down to reality, because none of them really feel like they exist. The most explicit example of this being the very last episode when Spike says,
"I'm not going there to die. I'm going to find out if I'm really alive."
This scene is proof that the whole time, the whole series, Spike has been living in a dream, or at least he thinks he's living in a dream. His past has been his reality for a very long time, and he has no idea how to break free from it. This explains Spike's entire character, why he's so relaxed all the time. He's not relaxed because he's just a super cool, chill dude, but because he's so incredibly indifferent to reality. It's why he charges into dangerous fights without giving it a second thought. It's why in this scene with the Columbia, when Spike is inside of the space shuttle about to burn up, he is able to just sit back, relax, and say,
"We can't live
Oh, well.
without them. I knew I should've
Whatever
loved you.
happens,
I'm only a kid.
happens."
when he is literally about to die. Ironically enough, the Columbia, the space shuttle that they are flying in, did burn up in a similar fashion to in the show 5 years after this show was released. Spike isn't the only character, though, with this indifference to reality. Every single member of the Bebop has this problem with derealization, with a small exception to Ein. Now, the first biggest contributor to this sense of isolation in the show Bebop is the sole fact that it is set in space. It could be set on Earth, it could be set anywhere in the universe, yet Shinichiro Watanabe decided to be in space. Solely that space is empty. There is nothing there. There's nothing tangible. It is just empty and dark and vast and unknown. We often see these characters just floating around in the Bebop. And this theme of euphoria, this weightless feeling, is constantly being pushed throughout the entire series. It's something as simple as a character staring off into the vast unknown of space while dragging on a cigarette. I should also point out that every planet that they visit is never quite that developed. Every single place that they go to seems to be run down or broken. Earth is completely abandoned. And my explanation for this is that space travel advanced super quickly, everybody decided to abandon Earth, but there weren't enough people in one place in particular to keep it going, to keep it looking nice, except for Mars, which is constantly being referred to as this type of paradise. Mars, which funny enough is the place Spike was born, and seems to be the place that he is always running away from. When I said before that Shinichiro Watanabe was giving us a false sense of hope throughout the story, I believe where this starts is with family. The Bebop are not just members of a crew, but they become a family over time. They share super heartfelt moments, and no matter what, they always seem to be coming back for each other. Ed is like the little playful child that is always having fun. Spike and Faye are like the two edgy teens who just can't seem to stay out of trouble. Jet is like the papa bear keeping everything together, and of course Ein is the little fluffy puppy that makes everybody happy. And whether these characters will admit it or not, they all like each other and they all like being around each other because they all share the same sense of derealization. Edward treats Jet like a father, the father who abandoned her, and even though she knows that he's not a great person, and even though she realizes he is unable to take care of her, she still wants to find him because she still wants that family. And Ed's eccentric character tends to mask a deep desire of belonging, and this is quite apparent when Faye says to her,
"You have someone waiting for you too. There's somewhere that you belong, Edward. You should go and find out where." It's the best. Belonging is the very best thing there is.
Both Faye and Ed are feeling this sense of isolation. They want belonging, and that's how they feel that they will be able to find reality, to grasp it again. And this is what makes Faye's character so incredibly depressing. Since Faye has literally no idea who she is in the midst of an identity crisis. Unlike all the other characters of the Bebop who are trying to move on from their past, she is trying to find it, only to figure out that the past that she has is entirely irrelevant. Most of her friends and family have passed on, her house is completely destroyed, she's lost absolutely everything, which is funny because she's a gambler, and the Faye that she once was is now just a ghost.
You'll never believe it, dear, but the fact is that she's
A ghost from beyond.
Huh?
Now let's switch gears and talk a little bit about Big Shot. Big Shot is a bit of a motif throughout this entire show, because the glue really holding this family together is their job, bounty hunting. Even in the darkest of times, or when they all hate each other the most, they are able to come together and work as a team to collect bounties. And where do they find new leads? On Big Shot. So when Big Shot is cancelled, that's when everything breaks apart. Now, there is much debate as to whether Spike Spiegel, in the end, dies or is alive, and the answer to this is that we honestly don't know. And that's not because I want Spike Spiegel to still be alive so badly, but because Shinichiro Watanabe won't tell us, so therefore we don't know for sure. But I believe that there are two possible endings to this series. One being the death of a noble hero, like the endings we see to characters like Gren and Roko. Roko is particularly interesting because when he dies, he says this.
I wonder if I had met you earlier in my lifetime, do you think that we would have been friends?
Now, to be honest, we can take literally any scene from Cowboy Bebop and look at it as some kind of foreshadowing. But this scene in particular could possibly be what Spike is thinking at the end when he is dying, whether he dies or not. If he had awoken from his dream sooner, would Julia still be alive? Would Ed and Ein still be in the Bebop? All these things that happened because Spike was so indifferent to reality. Now, like I said, there's another possible ending to this story.
I don't want to live a life where I'm always in someone's way.
Mother! I've been looking for you!
Alfredo!
Oh, I told you to wait at the curry restaurant.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm just glad you're here.
Can you really take care of me now? It sounds too good to be true.
Yes, Mom. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything.
If you didn't catch it, that was Alfredo from Big Shot. He, much like the members of the Bebop, has lost his job, his purpose in life. But even so, with his family, with his mother, he's able to find a new start, a new beginning. In a way, that's the ending that Bebop could have. So long as the characters learn to live with their past and move on, and if Spike didn't bleed to death. When we're left with such an open ending, it just adds to this theme of the unknown, the vastness of space, and this feeling of isolation. Because whether or not Spike died, their story still continues. Faye and Jet are still alive. Ed is still searching for her father. There's still more to this story. And so we have Space Dandy. There is one last element that I have to talk about, and that is in the music and the editing. Like I said before, this is my favorite soundtrack of all time. Actually, I found this show because of the soundtrack. It was recommended to me by a friend, and so I listened to it, and as soon as I heard the song Elm, I knew that this had to be a masterpiece of a show. Now, of course, anybody can listen to this soundtrack and think it's amazing. I don't know how you could hate it, but what I really want to talk about is how they put it into the show. If you notice, a lot of the most intense scenes do not have intense music. Let's take a look at this chase scene with Jet and his old girlfriend. The song playing in the background is called Elm. It's the one that I was talking about before. And it is by no means a song that should ever be used for a chase scene. It isn't fun or exciting. It is downright sad. And that is exactly the kind of situation he is in at the moment. He's trying to catch his ex's boyfriend, whom he might even possibly kill. Putting regular chase music over top of a situation like that wouldn't work properly. There's another instance that's like this when Gren and Vicious meet again.
We were comrades. We risked everything, shoulder to shoulder, on that battleground of death. I looked up to you. I believed in you. There was nothing to believe in.
That song was called Wasteland, and it is my absolute favorite song in this entire track. It's not victorious or triumphant like a fanfare should be, but it is absolutely devastating and tragic. Now, what makes these moments so great is not them themselves, but the fact that they're contrasted so highly with super intense, fun, and exciting scenes that give you such a high adrenaline rush.
Let's kick the beat. Let's kick the beat.
And it doesn't even have to be a chase scene or a fight scene, but it can literally be shots of a spaceship. And when you see those moments, how much fun they're having, how much life is in these characters and in the music, and contrast it with this depressing and mellow atmosphere, it forces you to miss all the good times that they had, and just makes you question how on earth they could go from something so alive and so amazing to being so empty and hollow. I think that this contrast is really what makes Bebop what it is. It's fun, adventurous, and exciting, and in those moments, these characters feel alive, and we feel so alive with them. And whenever they decide they need to face reality, that's when they feel like they're dreaming the most. It's this stark contrast between the exciting moments, the fun times, and the life, to the dark and the depressing ones. And that is why it makes it feel so empty. Thank you so much for watching this video, if you've made it this far. I love Cowboy Bebop, as you can tell. Yoko Kanno is an absolute god in my eyes. I love her to the ends of the world, and I've been wanting to talk a little bit about her music for a while, and just Cowboy Bebop in general. So, yeah. This is the video. This is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and you'll see me draw in the next one. Adios, cowboy.